Whenever you
You
are
ready?
ready. Yep, yep.
All
You're
right. Well,
sorry.
pass the potatoes.
I interrupted and screwed it up already. Go ahead.
All right. Well, wait a second. Pass the potatoes. It's time for another side dish.
So
What are we talking about today, Steve?
you are much more creative than I am in these introductions. Today, we're talking witches. It's Häxan. Very good. I've heard multiple people say that's a great one. So we're going to talk a little bit about witches from Sweden.
Yeah. It's got all kinds of little weird quirks about it. It's from 1922. It's a silent film. It's Swedish. It
Mhm.
was the most expensive Swedish silent film ever made.
And when you watch it, you can see that it looks really good. The Devils cracked me up.
To make matters even more entertaining, it's a documentary.
Basically, yeah. Uh, uh,
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
not a
documentary with
story.
recreations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It was written and directed by a guy named Benjamin Christensen, and he's in it, plays the devil. He also plays Jesus in one part, which I think is an interesting kind of dichotomy if you're going to cast yourself in two roles.
there goes our theologian's discussion for today about Lucifer being a fallen angel. There's a lot
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. He wrote this after he came across a copy of the Malleus Maleficarum.
Yes. And that's what he based it on. And a lot of our followers probably know that one. It's a 15th century German guide for inquisitors.
Yes, written by Heinrich Kramer. It translates to the Hammer of Witches, which is an interesting translation. Um, the guy was just making stuff up when he put it in the book. So it's just, you know what? If you have a mole on your face, yeah, we're gonna drown you.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I loved about this whole quote unquote documentary film is it's a documentary, but it's all made up stuff. It's based on, yes, the stuff about the Inquisition and the witches, that's basically true. But he made a lot of it up because they weren't filming these really happening 200, 300 years before him. So it's very interesting because he, near the end, focuses a lot on mental health, which is surprisingly way early to be even discussing anything like that in regard to witches in a film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He saw it as witchcraft being the effects of mental illness and the persecution of them being perfectly misguided. He spent 2 million kronos on this, which, if you put today's inflation on it, makes it $9.4 million.
Yeah, I did the same thing. A little different, but yeah, it's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it has at least one familiar face in it.
Oh, really?
Yes, it does.
Besides the devil.
Yeah, because the devil is him, but Astrid Holm, who played the damsel in distress in The Phantom Carriage, is the wife of the man who dies, who accuses the lady of witchcraft and then
Oh,
ends up being accused herself.
okay. Nice.
So, and I guess it wasn't too surprising. They both had very large casts. They're both Swedish films. They're about a year apart. Actually, when I started looking at them, like, I'm surprised she's the only one that we have crossover
Right.
on. But I did actually go through and check every person who was listed, and she was the only one. But yeah, if you want to hear more about Astrid Holm, go listen to our full Phantom Carriage episode.
Make a link. We didn't do this just to promote the other episode, but
If it works.
so one of the things with this that seems a little almost odd now, some of the imagery is very vivid. My particular favorite was the mechanical toy device type thing that showed hell with all the demons moving and stuff. That was pretty cool. The sets, the costuming was all really fantastic for 100-year-old film now. And it's,
All practical.
yeah, yeah, all practical. And the witches flying was a similar effect as the Phantom Carriage, except
Yeah.
he used a carousel to get them moving so they could fly. And I thought that was ingenious for what they need to do. This was banned in so many places when it first came out that he didn't really even see the results of it till later. It's got a huge following
Wow.
now. And it was because of the torture, the nudity, the sexual perversion, and what they called the anti-clericalism of it.
Given the time that he was talking about, you should have had an anti-clerical stance, to be honest.
Yes. One of the quotes I ran across looking this up in Variety magazine from 1923, it said, "Wonderful though this picture is, it is absolutely unfit for public exhibition."
Oh my.
Yeah, that's in Variety. So it was released in several places through the years. It got remixed, re-edited in 68, which include in England, and it included a narration from William Burroughs. So
Well,
they edited it, mixed it, and released it so it's more palpable for consumption with this voiceover, so people wouldn't have to read subtitles, I'm assuming. So
yeah, more than likely.
there we go. Go for the original. And this is one of the few early silent films that has been preserved through the Criterion Collection, which
Hmm.
I think actually we may have seen that copy first. I found it on Internet Archive, but it didn't have the subtitles, but it was very clean. It looks
Hmm.
really good through Criterion. And I think HBO might actually have most of the Criterion Collection. So it's probably up there.
That might be where I watched it from, actually.
Which I'm assuming if you have the DVD or streaming, you do get subtitles. The one that was on Internet
Yeah.
Archive did not.
He had seen this as part of a trilogy.
Really?
And yeah, and because his returns were so late, he just never got around to the other two.
Okay. What else?
It's Guillermo del Toro likes this film. That shouldn't
Yes.
surprise anybody. As did the creators of the Blair Witch Project. Again, shouldn't surprise anybody.
And didn't they name their film company Witches or through the witch?
Häxan film.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was related to something. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's also in the Steve Schneider 1001 Movies to See Before You Die.
it is.
Yeah,
He's famous.
he is.
The devils reminded me of throughout the whole thing was the Rob Zombie Dragula video.
Yeah.
There's a lot like that.
You can see a lot of influence from this throughout, like, cult history. I don't mean like cult, like church cult entertainment, the Rob Zombies of the world, and things like that.
It definitely, and a lot of people talk about it. I wouldn't necessarily say if you're like, oh, let's get some popcorn and watch a great movie, this would be the first choice because
It's dry.
it is dry, it's documentary like, and because some of the music was crazy. You get this happy-go-lucky music and they're like torturing somebody. And the nuns in their hysteria, that was cracking me up. It was like a street brawl with these nuns, and then they get all happy, and it's so weird.
I'm trying to think, there is a movie from the 70s, a British film it was banned forever. Oh, was it called The Devils? But it deals specifically with nuns in a convent who just go off the wire. Yeah, I highly recommend that one too, but
All right.
so
Anything else
what's
on this one?
next, Steve?
Next, I was jumping around. I think I shared the document with you. I rearranged things with a little bit. I was thinking the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
A very famous one and been redone a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to do that too. Some of these good ones, like the Cabinet, the Carnival of Souls, some of these have been redone. We're going to talk about the public domain, but I'm probably also going to watch the remake just to see how that looks. Colin and I
Yeah.
are doing that with Nosferatu since it's about to come out in the remake. It's interesting to see taking a 100-year-old silent film or close to the silent film era and remaking it in 2000s, how they approach things different and which one holds up.
Yeah.
All right, so there's Häxan. We'll put a link to it since it's public domain. Everybody can go check it out.
Yep. Enjoy it.
Enjoy the witches. Maybe we'll put a link to the Rob Zombie Dragula video.
Yeah.
That kind of fits.